Welcome again to Let's Talk Music. I'm Bill McGee, one of the co-hosts, and I'm gonna allow my colleague and cohort in crime to introduce everybody. And it says Richmond, or RVA, but we're not in Richmond today. We're in the Burg. We're about a block away from the Mousetrap. And so everybody in Virginia understands that Richmond might have had some nice clubs, but everybody come through Virginia knows about the Mousetrap or 24 South Union.
I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves because they're all legendary. But since you did bring up the Bird and since you did bring up the Mousetrap, nobody could play music in and around the 1960s, 70s, and 80s without appearing at Bill Jones' Mousetrap in Petersburg. And every band, States of Indian Majestic, Eugenia, Trussell, Poison, Starfire, you name it, every band went through the Mousetrap.
That's right.
You know, whether you went through the front of the building and performed, or you performed in the back of the building. You had a crowd in both places. Bill Jones was definitely a man that needs to be mentioned here. And we have the pleasure of having Mr. Bill Jones' only son, Mr. Mousy Jones, sitting at the end of the table there. Mousy, please introduce yourself.
How you doing? This is William Mouse Jones, son of Bill Jones, but toward the end, he doubted that. So he said, if he could talk to my mom again, he has some words to have with her. but when it was in the books.
All right. And sitting to the right side of Mr. Mousy Jones is a dear friend of mine. Would you please introduce yourself?
You just happen to be looking at one of the greatest stagehands in the business.
Yeah, but who are you?
It's not the greatest.
That's a legendary Kenny Crocket. That's who he is.
Kenny Crocket, KKA the Magical One.
You were involved with every band of any namesake at all in and around the Richmond, Petersburg area. You had a major DJ service for quite a while.
The gentleman across from Brother Crocket is a legend in his own right. He toured the world. He's probably the only person I know from Petersburg that has at least 5 or 6 groups he's played with in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to introduce himself as he would like to be introduced.
Thank you, Bill McGee. Thank you. Greetings to everyone. I'm Clarence Alonzo Oliver. So here they call me many different names. Clarence, Alonzo, Funky Man. But I got my start long before the Mousetrap. I'm coming from Peppermint Lounge.
Right.
So that's all.
Still good.
That's new stuff when you say Mousetrap to me. I was on the big stage with Bill Jones, who I always say that hadn't I had that training with Bill, I probably would not have been able to play because one word Bill will always say, I don't care who you are, how good you think you are. You may need some more woodshed, baby.
That's woodshed.
You may need some more woodshed. And I mean, he's told me and Jonathan and Joe, all of us, I don't care how good we thought we were. Bill would say, hey, I think you need more woodshed. You're not right tight. You're not tight yet, baby.
And baby, had to add that baby.
You're not tight yet, baby. Here it is. We were fortunate to have somebody that had that much knowledge about the stage, you know. And I say I would never have been able to play with Eddie James, Grandmaster Flash, none of those people, if I hadn't had that early stage training from Bill.
Where was the Pep actually located?
It was the old Bonnie Theater. That's what it used to be, the old Bonnie Theater that one section was open to African Americans. But it was upstairs and it was right up, matter of fact, it was right up the street, 3 doors up from the Mousetrap.
Now, what was the club before that he had?
Thunder Room.
That was a Thunder Room? That was over off Gill Street. By 73, y'all were at 24 South Union.
24 was Mousetrap.
Right. And 24 South Union and the Mount. What was it first? It was a mousetrap first.
Mousetrap first, and then when he started letting me, when I started invoking some of my ideas, at that time, Studio 54 was all that you heard about. So I just took a play on that by address being 24. We went with 24 South Union.
All right. Okay, so that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, he did that building next door. It was called the rooftop or something.
No, we bought a building that was
It
falling.
had no roof on it.
It was falling down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and it was open air, right?
Open air.
Open air.
So what Dad and his vision was, at this time, they were doing a lot of things in Dinwiddie County with Harry Hippie and Disco 3. They were doing a thing called Grazing in the Grass. Trevor Carmichael and one. So we saw it. It was a competition for during the summertime for being outdoors. So Dad, so the guy gave Daddy a price for putting the roof on it. And so Dad said, well, how much would it be to take it off?
I remember that.
Yeah,
That called.
I thought it was cool.
In 77, the group Trussell decided we were reluctantly going to back up a little girl.
Yeah.
She had never performed really publicly to any major extent. So we had rehearsed our show and she came down here from Philadelphia and we needed to test her out. And what better place in the world can you test a new artist than at the Mousetrap or 24 South Union? Mouse, tell us some of the other people that your father had in Petersburg. But who were some of the other people that you remember that you...
Everybody. Gene Chandler, the Drifters, Lil Anthony and Imperial. If you had a song, you came, they'd want you here. If you were too big, he would take you up to the fairground.
Okay.
You know, and that's where he took Jackie Wilson and it just about took the walls off the building up there at the fairground.
Because they had that big exhibition
They
hall,
had the
right?
big exhibition hall.
I remember.
And they would go up there and do that. And Jackie came in there and he was just killing up there. But he told Dad, at night he said, I'm too big for this town. Got to find another place. Who else would, Joe Tex? Well, you can't, once again, at that time, there was so-called Chitlin circuit. So they really had no options where to go. And between here and the Richmond Arena, but Dad did all this stuff here. And his partner in crime was Alan Knight. You know what?
Yeah, Alan Knight,
right.
Things and,
Did he do shows over at Virginia State?
he did the James Brown over at Virginia State.
I remember.
And I never did it. Dad was had these signs, and James Brown gave him some handbills. And everyone was calling me by Mr. Jones and everything, but he kept saying James. So he told Dad, he said, stop putting out those billboards, you know, from the scenic posters.
Yeah,
He said, hand out these. He said everybody would take time to read it. And so Daddy went on to say, well, this is work for me. And I never get Mr. Brown said to him, which one of us are millionaires? He said just like this. Which one of us? Dad said, you're right, Mr. Brown. Give them to me. That's what that was. And he got too big for that. You know, the big show that surprised Dad became a part of was Captain Sky. You know who Captain Sky was, but Captain Sky went with that super sperm thing.
Right.
And they were literally, the birds were hanging off the rafters, the feet were through the rail.
At
Virginia State.
Wow.
Over there,
To see Captain Sky.
See Captain Sky, and
That's crazy.
the craziest event we did with he did with a gospel show with Billy Lee, and one of the artists didn't show, and Reverend Lee got up there and said, we got to give some new people their money back. He said, Bill, let me handle this. So he went up on stage and told me, he said, if you're not grateful or satisfied with the great entertainment and the message of the Lord today, he said, you go and get your money back. And so when he came off stage, they said, are you crazy? He said, let me handle this, Bill. And Reverend Billy Lee stood up at the front of the box office, and not a single person asked for their money back.
Wow.
Y'all kept saying, praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
They said, okay. He said, I've heard enough with that.
You know, your father just meant so much to all of us. I mean, he just had an impact on us personally. There was something else. The food at the Mousetrap and the potato salad. Let me tell you, your auntie was a lady. She was the lady. Let me tell you, I used to run through the Mousetrap just to eat food.
I want to switch pages over here to Clarence, because as I told you, when I came from Atlanta to Virginia in January 1st, 1973, came to the front first. And there was this group with 7 guys. And they were like the groups that I had just left playing with in Atlanta. They were self-contained. They had 2 horns and a 5-piece rhythm section, they didn't have no upfront singer. They were all self-contained. They could sing tight harmonies. The horns were clean. They had an awesome sound system, and that group was Brother Love. And I said to myself, all these dudes up here in Virginia, clean, they getting it. Then I went in the back, and there was this group with about at least 15 people in it. And they had a drummer that was funky. I mean, this young drummer, man, there was a funky drummer. And I think Nat Lee was playing piano, and then Nat Nolan and Bobby Thomas and this guy named Stacy Henry. And man, it was
Massenberg and Bernard Robinson on saxophone.
Stacy Henry and the Squire.
Oh, yes.
Stacy Henry and the Majestic with about 7 horns,
Yeah.
backing up all the best singers from Central Virginia. And the drummer that they had was this guy sitting over here to my right. And little did I know that he wouldn't even be in town 6 months because he made it to the bigs.
He took off.
He took off, and he has played with some of everybody, like I said in the introduction. I want to tell you this. 5 of the groups that he's recorded with are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Clarence, tell us how you got out of the back of 24 South Union up to Inglewood, New Jersey.
Well, at 11 years old, a lot of people don't know I had formal training with Pop Gatlin and Dr. Clayton T. Richardson. I was part of the Music Institute before I met Bill.
Right.
Okay. So I was at Virginia State. That was a lot of us were in that program. And while I was there as a young musician at 11 years old, learning how to do rudiments and all that, who was there? Nat Nolan. Who was there? Milton Johnson, Tyrone Wynn.
All right.
Okay, they were there. Now, I did not really know Joe Jefferson because Joe was older guy, but Jonathan Williams had a band. Him and his brother, Wani, had a band called J.W. and the Silence. And Mrs. Hollins got them to play the Follies in the early days. These were some great musicians. I learned a lot from them. And it started with Bill and also over at Virginia State. So Pop Gatlin will always say, hey, pal, I want you over here, pal. He called everybody pal. And
Like Bill called everybody baby.
yeah, and Bill say, hey, Bill didn't care who you were. He only go by his ears. If you weren't tight, he would tell you. It goes back to the way Bill Jones taught us about stage. So you go to Virginia State, they teach you a lot about formal training.
Mm-hmm. On
stage, it's a different world.
Yes.
And if I had not had that training with Bill at the Mousetrap, certain things like this, for especially drummers, you can't play loud all night. You got to go break it down with the singer.
Got to break it down.
Okay?
That's right.
That's called pitch track.
That's right.
That's that singer needs to open up and say, you want to hear those
So
lyrics.
true. So
Now
true.
you bring it up when the hook comes. Now you play loud. But that's what James Brown was.
Yes.
I learned that with Bill.
Tell us what happened when you first left and who you left here with, and then give us a whirlwind tour of the stuff that you've done.
Oh, well, when I would come home off tour, I always see Bill.
Right.
And Bill said, baby, you don't make headlines now, baby. You're making headlines now. You done left the stage where we just playing. You're recording hit records.
Yes.
That's another world.
Yes.
That's nothing to do with stage.
Yeah.
You're in the studio with like a Motown or those artists. You know, they want what they want. They ain't no time to listen to. You got to know it today because we're recording today because the record's going out this evening. So that's another world. But when I left with the Moments, that's Al Goodman, Billy Brown, and Harry Ray, they were already hot. When I got with them, they had 12 top hits.
He has played with in a number of groups. I mean, Ray Goodman and Brown, he's worked with so many different artists. Let's bring down that roster.
Well, okay. How that happened, how I got to play with so many different ones. I tell the young guys that be careful what you wish for. Because when opportunity knocks, you got to be ready. Now, if I couldn't read music, if I hadn't had formal training, there's no way. So I could read the music.
Right.
So I got to work. Mr. Robinson, Joe Robinson, and Sue Robinson had all platinum and Sugar Hill Records. So I got to play with those guys. After I got the gig with the Moments, they said, wow. So I got to play with Eddie James, the Dale, Grandmaster Flash, Brooke Benton, Solomon Burke, Jack McDuff. I always say this. Bill taught us about the stage. Virginia State taught me formal training. You need all of that to go far. Because Quincy ain't gonna talk to you. He's not gonna tell you, hey, put the record on. All these sophisticated musicians that have went to all the great music schools from Juilliard to, so I'm thrown in that mix.
Who are the 5 groups that you were sharing that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame you performed?
The Dells.
Okay.
Etta James.
Each name representing dozens of hits. Each name.
Solomon Burke.
Okay.
Brooke Benton.
Brooke Benton.
Hank Ballard.
Hank Ballard. That's right.
Man,
Midnight.
Grandmaster Flash.
That's right. Let me say this to you, because Clarence and I have that in common, that of course I recorded with Flash and them on some of their bigger hits, but I did not know until he corrected me that they were the first rap group to be inducted in the Rock and Roll.
Nobody else. No one else.
And
no matter how you
Sugar Hill Gang is not in the Rock.
They're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
But Grandmaster Flash Material
Flash, yeah.
5 are in the Rock and Roll Hall.
I'm in the Hall of Fame for music here in this state.
Right. So Clarence, as we kind of like move on, and we're gonna get Kenny on here and then come back to Miles for some other stuff. Here's one of the questions that Charles and I like to ask everybody. Give us the moment that sticks with you most in your history of touring and around the world and playing with people. I mean, you have been there and been in the room with major stars
Turning point.
for the last 40 years. What is the one moment that stands out to you?
1976 was the bicentennial year. We played Painter's Mill Theater in the Round.
Okay.
In Maryland. We opened for the Jackson 5.
Who
The Moments.
the moment.
The song we had was a hit song. Look at me, I'm in
Look
love.
at me, I'm in love, right?
Finally found the right girl. So that was a big hit. And Joe Jackson had us to be the opening act. And we played, in those days, you didn't play one night like that. We played 6 nights.
Right.
6 nights sold out.
6 nights opening for the Jacksons.
Right.
So you got to hang out.
Yeah.
With
Matter of fact, we changed the name from the 5 to the Jackson. So, because we played all over. Joe Jackson had a Las Vegas act where you had Reby, Janet and Randy did won't you come and see me sometime? They did a Mae West act.
Right.
And it was a Las Vegas act. Okay. And the Jackson 5 and James Brown.
When did you work with James Brown?
I worked with James Brown in the mid-70s. And I got to work with the guy that did A Man's World. But see, I'm a studio drummer also. In the big time, all of them doing Smokey, everybody. You have a small little rhythm section.
Right.
And I was a part of the main rhythm section.
Right.
Jonathan Walsh and myself.
Right. And Sammy.
Yeah, right. So, but when we get to play Radio City and Madison Square Garden, the record company says we're going to hire 12 violins and we're going to have 10 horns. Mm-hmm. And they're going to sit like this. And you guys are going to be in the middle. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have a conductor. So that's real big. And Gladys Knight did that. Aretha Franklin did that. Everybody did that. So you had some hit records. And by the way, I was a part of the rim shots. I got so blessed we did Soul Train with Don Canales without any of them.
Yeah,
Now, Joe Robinson was in the recording business, like Barry Gordon.
Right.
So they don't care about nothing else but, guys, can you sell records? They don't care about what you did on stage.
That's right.
Can you sell records? That's a whole nother game. What you did, you play good, but can you sell records? So we sold records. So I was on Soul Train
Numbers.
with 1976. We did it twice. So things just, when Jonathan and I left here, things just happened so fast. And you know what? When I first started to play with these guys, my hands were sweat. One of the reasons is sweat, because I was nervous to make a mistake. We rehearsed 5 days a week, 6 hours a day.
Right.
And just do it all over. Like right now, we in here. Okay, we're going to take it from A to Z. You mess up, we're going to keep going. You know why you don't stop? Because you don't stop when nobody's out there paying and we got their nice clothes on.
Right.
So you keep going. We'll come back and do it. But when we start from A to Z, they'll be out there. Say, Clarence, all right, start. And we're going to the whole fanfare, blah, blah, blah. And, it's so important for you to comprehend and remember what you're going to play. And we did this in rehearsal. You can have paper. You can use sheets. But when you get on the big stage, they're gone.
That's right.
Only the hired musicians that don't know your book, but the violins, see, they can do that. But I'm a road boy. I'm with you every day. So all the acts are that way. Rita, Jane Brown. You ever seen anybody with Jane Brown with a music shot? No.
You expected to know it.
Da 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 da. I don't want nobody. Now you got to be on your game. You can't talk about you forget. You forget, you don't have a job.
Thank you. Hey, you don't have a job. Mousy,
Yes, sir.
you have established yourself as independent of all musicians by becoming an outstanding promoter of events. You have followed into the footsteps of your dad. So tell us a little bit about your own accomplishments. Tell us about your shows. Tell us about the events that you've done. Give us some background.
Well, it's 3 consecutive. Frankie Beverly was our headline for 2 years, consecutive years. We had Frankie Beverly, Midnight Star, Tamia 1 year, Frankie Beverly, and OJ.
How many people?
First year was 15,000, second year about 22,000.
Well, look, fellas, this is getting to be kind of long. We're not supposed to be quite this long.
Okay.
And we haven't barely touched into all the information. I need to commend each and every one of you and thank you for being available for this opportunity, get us an opportunity to cover some of the history and all the musicians and all the club owners. And definitely again, shout out to Mr. Bill Jones, again, your father, Marcel. He was the first guy that came up to me and said, Charles, I think you need to be a jazz singer.
All right. I'll tell you the best performance of Lou Rawls' tune you'll never find that I heard in my life, other than with Lou Rawls, who I played with, was You.
That's right.
You know, when I was with Philly and Lou Rawls was with Philly, Lou heard me sing. He came and said, Charles, keep playing sax. Don't sing. Don't sing.
Yeah. So the question before we go is, Kenny Crocket, name that one moment in your music industry history that sticks with you more than anything else.
I would have to go back to I call him Dad, Mr. Bill Jones as well. And this is a fact. I was during this time I was working with a group that allowed Eugene Carlton Robinson's Eugene, and we used to do the Monday nights and Thursday night gong show. Well, I was one of the roadies. We used to leave the equipment in the Mousetrap, 24 South Union, which was a nice big tall stage. I would go down that next morning and take it down. Usually it's supposed to be someone else there, but it never was. So I found myself taking everything down from the mic stand, the chorus and everything. Mr. Bill Jones, I didn't know he was watching me. I mean, I would clear that stage and everything, put it in the truck all by myself. And Mr. Jones came, he said, let me tell you something, son. You don't need to do nothing else in the entertainment field other than be a stagehand. He said, son, he used to call me son, you work a stage.
What's that one thing that sticks out with you, Miles?
Well, when I was doing the Diamond up in Richmond, and I walked away and got to the stage and turned back and saw the stands, I knew then I had reached the place that I had envisioned.
Should never.
You know, you talking about that, the place looked like it was Yankee Stadium,
Wow.
you know, and I had this when folks said you couldn't get it.
Right.
And, but the thing that stick out the very most,
Third.
Ron Hop and Bill Spratt was sitting at the stage on Blue Monday at the club, and they real slow that night. I was DJing, playing records, and the sound went out. And I went to go get it, to take care of it. And Spratt asked Daddy, said, aren't you going to take it out? He said, Mouse can handle it. I knew then that I had reached where I wanted to go.
Right.
Bill Spratt came to me later and said, I've known your daddy for years. Every time something he scrambled, he said, he stayed just as relaxed and calm, and the lights came back on and the sound came back on. Of all the things I've done, that night, I knew my father had accepted that
Right.
I could carry them.
That's good.
And
That's awesome.
that was it. I mean,
And to be with Ron Hop and Phil Spradley when it happened,
Two other greats.
you know, well,
From this area.
Ron Hopper with the Delphonics and Bill Spradley with Harold Melvin.
We all fortunate to grow up in the tutelage of Mr. Bill Jones. And my head is off to him. Thank you again. Another time for Talk Music. Let's talk music. Goodbye.
Peace.